Hello, Warrior Women. Karen McCoy here, and I promised I would do a Q&A for some questions that came in yesterday, and let me go through these with you. Thank you all for sending in your questions. I usually take the top 4 or 5 because some of them can be a little bit lengthier, but let me go into some pretty cool questions here that I think a lot of you are going to take a lot of information from. Okay, so the first one, yes, I have glasses. The first one, I have a hard time seeing changes in my legs. Any suggestions? Okay, so the legs are half the body. They are big muscles. For a lot of women too, they are a place of holding excess weight. And so a lot of times we are getting shape and tone, but we can't see it because we're holding excess weight there. So that can be one issue. The other issue is the legs are very tiring to train. And there's scores of jokes and gifts around leg day at the gym because it's so intense. So a lot of women are not working at a capacity where they're inducing change because it's a lot of work. And so there are certain parameters around how much work and what intensity for the legs to take any kind of shape. So I usually say the legs need minimum of 15 up to 25 sets. So that's an exercise which is like 8 to 12 reps, and we need 15 to 25 sets. That's a lot. And the reason that people say leg day is so tiring is because of that. And it also, again, is half the body and it sustains the rest of the body. So the legs are tough to train. So just know that. And also, it depends on how long you've been training. So for a lot of women, they want to see results in a few months. I would say I saw results in my legs, serious results, in it took about a year to 18 months. Now, here's the good news though. You feel it before you see it. And that is what keeps us going. And so I remember this in my early days. I would be training. I was like in my early 20s. And I remember the first year or so, I'd be walking past a mirror or window and I'd look at myself and I'd think, I feel differently than I look. Well, that's good news because if you're feeling it, it's working. But we don't always see it because it takes a long time to change flesh and blood, guys. So let it happen and you need to stay consistent. And the other thing is how many days a week are you training? We can overtrain the legs. And we can also undertrain the legs. And this is where you want to work with your coach to say, where am I at? Stay steady. Don't be jumping around and make sure you're doing weight training with weights. Body weight, if you're just starting out, is fine, but you need to ramp it up after that. So the intensity is important. The sets are important, which is the volume and the consistency in how many days you're training. For me, I find I can train legs on the 5th day. I can't train them before. I train them pretty hard. My legs don't adapt a lot to training, especially because I've been doing this for so long. But some of us guys are more genetically gifted in certain muscle groups. So I find my upper body responds better than my lower body. And it's just the way it is. So I always say, look to your mama and see, because how she's set up is how you're going to be set up too. But nothing takes the place of hard, consistent work and proper coaching. Okay, number 2. We have 5 questions here. I'm 67. I fear it's too late to make any noticeable changes. Oh, girlfriend. No, 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 no. I've had women, I had a 75-year-old come into my program last year and she was just gung ho, all guns ablazing. And she did super, super well. She lost 50 pounds in 20 weeks and she changed the shape of her body because she did not even consider age being an issue. So here's the deal. It is easier to keep the muscle and shape on your body than to lose it and get it back because sometimes it's more work and there is a point of no return. But yes, you can always build muscle at any age, and this is well shown in the research. They did a lot of research around men and women in their 70s, mid to late 70s, and they were adding muscle. So it's always workable. I think what I hear is a lot of women wish they had started earlier and kept going. I understand that. The past is the past, and we're here today, and we start from today moving forward. And it's always joyful to feel your body strengthen and to see the results at any age. So you are not too old at 67 or any age. Number 3, I'm training consistently and eating well for at least 6 months, but I'm not seeing any noticeable changes. Why? Okay, so this goes back to question number 1. It's because 6 months is actually a very short window. Now, you can see changes in those places on your body where you're carrying less body fat because it's going to show. For some women, it's in their arms. For other women, it might even just be their calves or some simple place like that. But the problem is we always gravitate our eyes towards that place where we always want to see the change. But I want you to take a full view of your entire body and start noticing other areas as well. Because if you're working it, there's change happening. But again, it takes time, ladies. And in this day and age, we are seeing so many younger women coming into exercise programming, weight training, and it's wonderful to see. But there also is a groupthink, a language out there that says, I think I should be further along. Or they'll put up pictures of themselves where they've been training for 2 months and say, do you guys see any change? I don't see any change. I don't either. But change is happening underneath. Change is happening in the biochemistry, in the musculature, in the hormonal profiles, all of that stuff, how your body is partitioning food, which just basically means how it's using it, the macros, the fat, the carbs, all that stuff matters. Where's the protein going to? How much are you bringing in? And so it's really important we understand this just takes time, but we are still and will always be in an instantaneous gratification lifestyle where a lot of people want it faster, or they are listening to everybody else that they think it's hard for everybody, and everybody's asking how come it's not happening faster, and you think that's the reality, but it's not. It happens slowly over time with consistency and a level of intensity, and it will show up. So this is where I always say, what other muscles are you being asked to work on? Patience, commitment, discipline, focus? Sure. Those are the muscles that we also require to be able to create an amazing body transformation over time. And it becomes a lifestyle, not a, well, I want to get there and see it. And then what happens is if that's the goal, then they usually end up losing it because they haven't made a lifestyle. They've made it a set goal where they want to see a certain destination. I always say it's not about the destination, it's the journey along the way. And it gets sweeter with time. Weight training, in my estimation, is one of the most beneficial exercise regimes because you get to see results fast. And I love that about weight training, but for a lot of women, they're still impatient. And they're also looking at other women and they don't always recognize who they're looking at. They're looking at other women on YouTube or TikTok or in magazines that have been doing it a long time. And they think if they can just do that exercise program, they're going to look like that. But that woman has been training for 10, 20, even 30 years. So it takes time invested, right? All right. Number 4, I can't seem to eat anything anymore. I gain weight so easily now. Help. All right. This goes back to the dieting or the restriction or the undernourishment, overnourishment, to the inconsistency in the food. Let's put it that way, because some women don't consider how they eat as a diet. But the way I see dieting in our culture, it's a negative that is not allowing our body consistency in meals, timings, macros, and portions, the 4 food rules. And it creates havoc in the body because there's no consistency. And if you've had a colorful diet history where you've lost weight and gained and lost weight and gained, what happens again is the body goes into alert mode because this body is here to help us survive. So it is trying to protect us. And if it feels another low calorie thing coming on, it goes, oh, I remember that from last year or the year before, or like 10 times before. And This time, we're going to wisen up and protect you because your body wants to protect you. It's not your enemy. And so this is where 100 calories can now act like 300 because the body is overcompensating and going, I'm not letting go of this. And that is why it's harder to lose weight with every attempt because there's so many other attempts that the body is holding on. So yes, it's not your imagination. You may have been able to eat 2,000 calories and now it's only 1,500 or less. And again, we think it's aging, but it's not aging. It is a colorful diet history that is tapping us on the shoulder going, I'm not going to let you do that to me again. I'm going to protect you. I am going to bring all the metabolic movement down so that it can survive. And so it's trying to hold on to its energy. And when we start eating like how we think we're supposed to eat or going back to the way we eat, this is why dieting is so stressful to the body, because we may cut for say 12 to 16 weeks. And then we want to go back to what we were doing before and we can't. How you get there is how you stay there. And again, that's the mindset, that's the lifestyle, guys. So this is why you have to be careful. Whatever eating strategy you take on, you want to be able to live that way for the next 20, 30, or 40 years. So that's why I don't like things that are too restrictive, like no sugar ever or no treats ever. Are you kidding me? I am going to enjoy my treats, but I do it judiciously and I do it like an adult and I enjoy it with rules around it, if you will, right? So you have to build your metabolism. You have to change your movement, maybe work with a coach and find out. And you need to work with your macronutrients to make sure you're getting the nutrients in there where your body is not hoarding fat and hoarding calories. Because again, it's just been parented in a way to do that in order to protect you. So it's not your imagination. And sometimes we cut lower and lower and lower and lower. And before you know it, women are eating like 1,000 calories. It's not healthy. It erodes our immune system, our recuperative abilities, our energy, our joy. We're grumpy all the time because we're not feeding our brain, right? So a calorie has to come back to being a calorie again. And your body is just overcompensating because of a colorful diet history. All right, last one. I'm doing whole body HIIT workouts 3 times a week, but not really seeing results. Should I change it up? Okay, so first of all, HIIT, high intensity interval training, that has kind of changed in its definition. People take on HIIT and they use it to describe doing a little bit of weights and then doing a little bit of running in the spot or kind of a boot camp style program. But what HIIT really is usually cardio based. This is how it started. Usually cardio based where you're doing, say, 2 to 3 minutes of consistent, steady, whether it's cycling or elliptical or whatever, and then you ramp it up and you're going fast for 1 or 2 minutes. You're outside the aerobic zone, meaning you're gasping for air. You can't talk through it. And then you bring it down again and you cruise again for another 2 or 3 minutes. That is true HIIT. Now, some people have taken on HIIT, again, as I was saying, in a training program in the gym, but it's not really that way. But what she's referring to is, let's even just break it down into a whole body workout. Okay. A whole body workout is a great place to start if you're a starter or if you've had a long layoff, because everything needs to be brought in sync, right? And we have 9 muscle groups. And when we're doing a whole body workout, we want to be able to hit each muscle group. If we have 9 muscle groups and we're doing a whole body, then if we're doing 3 sets, which is like anywhere from 8 to 12 reps, or maybe a bit more, depending on what your programming is, you might do high rep days or you might do strip sets or whatever. But you want to be able to do, you want to be able to get done in an hour, right? Anything after that, again, some people can train longer when they've trained a while, and then they can go into the reserves. If you train too long and you don't have the food in your system, what's going to happen? You're going to cannibalize your muscles. That's why we don't train fasted, guys. Okay. Another whole topic. But with the whole body, if you've got 9 muscle groups to work, all you can do is get 3 sets on each muscle, because that's 27 sets. That's a lot of sets. And In my workouts, doing that would take me an hour. So, but it's not enough volume, which is how many sets you're doing, on the muscles to induce real change. Now, I go through this with the women in my programming, my private clients. How many sets per muscle group or per muscle, like how many sets for biceps, how many sets for triceps, how many sets for chest, until you see results. And I've gone through and figured out the formula for that. But I got to tell you, if you're taking on that formula and doing a whole body workout, you're going to be training for like 3 to 4 hours. You cannot do it. So a whole body workout is great to start. Then what you want to do is you could split it up into upper and lower body part. Now you can put more sets on each muscle because you're only working 3 or 4 muscle groups. What I like to do with my women when I'm coaching them is, depending on where they're at, because we have to find out where women are at. It's always meeting the client where she's at, not where I think she needs to be, but where she is. And then we build a strategy. And so we can go into a 3-day split or a 4-day split. I train a 4-day split myself. So I have 4 different workouts, and that spreads out my 9 muscle groups over 4 days. So it allows me to get the necessary volume on my body, the workload on each muscle, to induce change, shaping, toning, tightening, right? So for example, my arms, I'm doing anywhere from 12, on a slow day it's 9, but usually around 12 to 15 sets for biceps. 12 to 15 sets for triceps. That's how I keep my body and the shape on my arms. Now, a newcomer coming in, it's going to be way too much. Even for somebody that's been training for a couple of years, it may be way too much. I've built in my recuperative abilities. I've built that into, because I've been doing this a long time. So my immune system is strong and I can go back and work at that level. So I do 4 different workouts in a week. And I usually train at least 4 days a week, if not 5. But the volume is important. So you can do a whole body workout, but a lot of women think, I just want to get it all done and get the body done and do it 3 times a week. And isn't that better than doing just an arm day or just a leg day? No, not if your goals are to change your body shape and to get awesome shape and tone. And it's not for everybody. Some women just want to go in and do a whole body workout 3 days a week, but you just need to understand what the outcome is and that you're okay with the outcome. And I have some women that have other sports as their major, and they're doing a whole body because it's supporting their sport, because their sport is their major and their gym work is their minor. And that's a totally different story. So again, we have to figure out, what are your long-term goals? What are you doing now? Where you want to be? What does that look like? And we have to build a program around that that's going to support you. So for this lady that's saying, I'm not seeing change, what I'm hearing is she wants change and she's not seeing the change. So she needs to change her program, and she needs to do an upper lower, which would be the next step, or she could easily go into a 3-day split or 4-day split. She doesn't have to do as many sets. She can build into those in each workout. But if I hear her saying, I'm not seeing results, I would sit down and say, well, I would do this before. Like, I'm very clear with my clients when we start. What do you want? How do you want to look? How do you want to feel? What does that mean to you? Right? And so she's not seeing the results because she's not working with a strategy that is geared towards those results, which I'm hearing. I could be wrong. I would have to double check. I'm hearing I'm not getting the shape or the tone. I'm not seeing the tightness. I'm not in that place where I want to be. Because when you do your workouts, you feel it and you know it's on track. And if you're not feeling it, or you're just waiting for something to change, then you need to change. You need to talk to your coach, your trainer, find another one, or just get really real and verbalize what it is you want. Because here's the deal, guys. A lot of times the trainers and coaches in the gym assume they know what you want. But it's important that you, before you purchase, before you invest your time, that you say, this is what I want. Or you're looking at some of their clients and you go, yeah, I like that. Or you may be somebody who might be interested in a show. That's a different training strategy, right? You may be somebody who is just a lifestyle athlete, and that's different as well. So get very, very clear, and they should be able to lay out for you what that looks like. And then you need to decide, am I committed to that? Can I commit to that? Usually you can, but you have to work things around. And am I willing to do the work? Because this takes time, consistency, intensity, and the volume has to be there. Those are the parameters around building a great body transformation. So I hope that was helpful, you guys. We'll do another one next week. I got all the questions. Yeah. We'll do another one next week. And keep your questions coming because there's a lot of nonsense out there, guys. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of women who are frustrated and confused and overwhelmed with the information. And this stuff does not have to be overwhelming. It's actually quite simple. The training and food principles are quite simple, but it's getting out of hand. And it's almost like people are doing crazy things just because they want to be unique or they want to be noticed. And you need to be careful with that. And you also need to recognize that what you see out there is not what you see. So there is a new strategy out there, and I'm not going to mention the exercise protocol, but I know by looking at that body that's promoting that exercise protocol, she didn't build it using that. Because I can see, and a lot of women can see and calling it out too. She didn't build that body by doing those movements with that apparatus. Okay, so please, buyer beware. It's really, really important. Okay, you guys. Thanks for listening. Drop your comments below. Love to hear from you. Okay, ciao.